And welcome to Proline, direct from Las Vegas, the longest-running sports handicapping show in America. I'm Dave Cokin, joined by Jim Feist. We're going to take a look at some college basketball, NFL playoffs, including the big game, the Green Bay-Dallas showdown. First, Jim, if people want to subscribe to the channel, well, that's free, and they get great stuff as well.
That's right. You just go to ProlineTV.com, click on the subscribe button, and you'll get notifications on new videos. Plus, you'll be sent a code to get 7 days of my service absolutely free. And check out our brand new website, JimFeist.com, where you can get daily picks and service packages from myself, Dave, and the nation's top handicappers. Whether you're at home, work, or on the go, our new website gives you access to the latest scores and odds, links to articles, and my coveted fast facts, and the opportunity to watch Proline wherever you are at any time you want. Head over right now and let us know what you think.
I love the new website. Looks great.
Thank you.
The photographer deserves some kind of a bonus.
Yeah, it made me look decent.
Not easy with me.
I didn't say great. I just said decent.
It's just amazing. No, the photographer was great. Me, All right, listen, before we take a look at this week's Proline poll question, well, we may as well go back to last week's question, and this time the audience and me got it wrong. We said that the Giants had the best chance of beating the Packers straight up among the looking for an underdog to win. That didn't happen, and we saw every underdog get blown out. It was a horrible weekend as far as competitive football is concerned. Bad weekend for the books as well, with the favorites all winning by double digits. So for this week's poll question, we decided to go in another direction. Will there be another double-digit playoff victory this season or this weekend? And if so, which game? And Jim, we probably should have prefaced that question with other than the Patriots because, well, the results were predictable.
Well, the question is kind of 84% of the audience voted for the Patriots to blow out the Texans on Saturday, and it's the only double-digit favorite out there, so kind of was obvious. And the question is, who went to the other 16% with? Because there was only one double-digit favorite.
Well, it tells you that we have a lot of people living in Houston that watch the show.
Okay.
And they were, what the hell? It wasn't costing them anything. So that's the beauty of it being
fun.
free.
It was fun.
You can take a shot and go.
By the way, they will win and cover that.
I would suspect you're right, but I have a different plan that game, which we'll talk about later on. We want to thank everybody for participating in this week's poll question and remind you that we will post a new Proline poll question every Monday morning on our various social media networks, and then the results will get announced right here on Proline.
And if you'd like to send us a suggestion for a Proline poll question of the week, or if you have any questions about our selections or our service packages, send them direct message to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, and we'll get right back to you.
All right, so let's talk some NFL.
Okay.
And John Cranton, who does an incredible job with the research, Jim Feist Sports, has put together some interesting numbers for us. NFL playoff notes. Best defensive team in the playoffs, Houston. Number one in yards allowed. Now, I think that most people realize that Houston is a team that gets there with defense, but you might not equate that with being, of the 8 teams that are left, the best defensive team in terms of yards. That's why they're here. Their offense is horrendous, but that stat there's one that's really telling.
Well, I'd like to point out how stats are made. Houston doesn't present much of a problem on offense.
No.
So therefore, teams don't have to really grind and pound and go up and down the field to try to get a lot of points to beat them. It's pretty easy to beat Houston in normal circumstances, except at home, where they actually had a pretty good winning record. I think they were 7 or 8-1 for the season. They should have lost to Cincinnati. That was a fluke. But this team can prevent the yards, but that's about it.
And
they don't rank up there in points.
That's the key.
Yes.
Because and that's where you want to combine the stats to get a truer read. The Patriots are number 8 in yards allowed.
Number 1 in points.
Good, but not great. But number 1 in points allowed. Seattle is number 5 in yards. That's excellent, but they're only number 2. Or I should say they're even better. Only number 2 in points allowed.
Correct.
So those are still the 2 best defensive, regardless of the yardage stats, the 2 best defensive teams in the league.
I totally agree. And if you were going to say out of these 3 teams, because everybody talks about defense wins football games at the championship level, you're not going to pick Houston as a potential Super Bowl candidate, but you could see the Patriots in Seattle. By the way, the Patriots in Seattle were my prediction at the beginning of the year to meet in the Super Bowl. I no longer feel that way because of certain things, but Houston would not be one of those choices.
No. Now, on worst defensive teams in the playoffs, and again, we're going to do the same thing here. We'll look at yards, but we'll also look at points because that's what's more important. Atlanta is not a good defensive team. They're 25th in yards, and they're just as bad. They're even worse in points. They're 27th in points allowed. The Packers are also a poor defensive team. You know, they made some good plays against the Giants, but I think the Giants' offense was the Giants' worst enemy in that game. They should have scored more points against the Packer defense. Green Bay, 22 in yards, 21 in points, 31 against the pass, by the way. Only one team worse than them in terms of giving up passing yards. But then we get another one here where if you look at the yards and then look at the points, you get a totally different read, and that's Kansas City. Very mediocre in terms of yards allowed, 24th in yards. But they bend but don't break. They're 7th in points allowed.
I don't know that we have anything in here about turnovers, but this team, I believe, leads the NFL in turnovers, not only in total category, but in interceptions and in fumble recoveries. So this team, when you see them, they give up a lot of yards, 24th in the league, only 7th in points because they're getting turnovers in their favor.
Plus, they make kick field goals.
They do that too. Now, this is a potential weather game, of course, this weekend. But when you look at these stats, worst defense teams in the playoffs, the Falcons, the Chiefs, and the Packers, I mean, in previous years, you would automatically bet against these three teams, especially when you're talking about the Packers against Dallas.
I don't think you can do it on any of them.
But they're hard. It's hard to bet on teams with these kind of stats, but there are other factors.
Sure there are.
So you can't just go by this, especially in the NFL, where the rules do not favor defenses; they favor the offenses. The defensive players are always getting fined for the hits here and the hits there, and head hits and low hits and high hits and all that. Doesn't happen on the offensive side very much. The NFL is set up to help the offense.
What's more exciting?
And look, there was a play in the Alabama-Clemson game. Long pass, I think Alabama, long pass, interference by the Clemson player. It was 15 yards and a first down.
In the NFL,
in the NFL, that was a 60-yard pass. Yep. It's 60 yards and a first down. That's a crazy rule and needs to be changed because automatically, if you have a big arm quarterback, you should just sit back there and throw 60-yard passes all day. You're going to pick up a 60-yard penalty.
Especially the way they like to throw the flags.
Yes.
I
so it's a crazy rule, bad rule, needs to change. But anyway, back to this. Defenses don't matter as much because the NFL doesn't help the defense.
Well, but the defense doesn't have to help itself much if they're playing against Brock Osweiler. Just show up. That's it. Just get 11 guys in the field.
The poor guy only made $37 million, Dave.
Well, no, I don't care about that. I mean, I'm happy for him.
It just shows you how these teams manage their money and make terrible decisions.
And they make bad reads. This guy has got 15 TDs, 16 picks, and he's got 5 fumbles as well. And now he has to go up against this Patriots team. This is where it ties in with what we're just talking about. He might get some yards against the Patriots, but how the hell is he going to score against them? They don't give up any points anyway.
No,
and he's not good at manufacturing points. So I want to give away a play. I'm going to give you one right now. And it's on this Houston-New England game. It's a mismatch. But I don't want to lay 15, 16 points. I think the bet to make in this game is the under on the team total on the Houston Texans. I can't see any way they get to 14 points.
We don't know what that number is right now because no one's posted it, but we're assuming it's going to be around 13 or 14.
Right.
I agree with
Dave. They get held to single digits.
There's a lot of ways to play these games. I mean, if you have, you could call us, and we've been red hot in this stuff. I mean, I hit every side last week. Had a little trouble with the totals, but every side won for me. And but there's a lot of ways of playing this. No one really wants to lay 15, but if you put a gun to my head, that's what I would do. But there's other things. You can play teasers. You can play teasers with totals. You can play teasers with sides. You can play parlays. and you can mitigate some of this stuff. And if you play a parlay, try to always play a 3-team parlay because the odds are closer to what reality really is. So you're not getting shaved too much by the odds maker or the bookmaker. So you're getting edges there. But these are very competitive football. They're all under a touchdown except for the New England game.
I don't think we're going to see a 4-0 sweep by the favorites this week.
Well, the books are praying for not because they got killed.
Yeah, it wasn't real good for them. The one game that kind of saved them, and this was interesting, and we're going to, if you watch the ads later on, something that ties into this, there's a lot of sharp money in the Lions. That game was not bad for the books because Seattle got the money in that game. And I'm talking serious sharp money on the Detroit side, and that's coming straight from the books that we consider to be the sharper books. Yeah. That there is kind of a method to the madness as far as judging sharp money versus not sharp. And you can't always go by the lines as much as where the lines are at particular books.
We should talk a little bit about that because we're in the information sharing business. In the old days, when a big bet came in, say 25 to 50 or 100,000, you would consider that a sharp bet because it was coming from people that knew stuff.
Unless it was a guy with a satchel with a cowboy hat that walked into the old Castaways because Sonny Reisner didn't respect those guys and he moved the line the other way.
Sonny was unique.
He was a trip.
No longer with us, but he was a great guy. Today, there's so much money out there in the marketplace, and it's basically there's a lot of wealthy people from around the world and in the country that will make large wagers. And they'll come in and put a 50,000 or 100,000 on a game, and it's not sharp.
Right.
They're squares. Bottom line is, Dave, there's a lot of money out there. It's big money, but it's not all sharp. You really need to know who's making these plays.
I couldn't agree more, and that's something we look at on a daily basis. Okay, that's going to do it for the first portion of the show here, and I'm supposed to read something here. And here it is. If you want to ask us any Vegas sports wagering questions, go to ProlineTV.com. See, I don't really need the notes. Drop us a line. It doesn't cost anything, and speaking of not costing anything, make sure when you're there to hit the subscribe button because you get 7 days of action free.
Plus, go to JimFeist.com for free stats, articles, videos, and my free fast facts and plays from the nation's top handicappers.
All right, we're going to look at focus on the wild card. Excuse me, yeah, that would be good. I think I could get all those games right now. We're going to look at the divisional playoffs, including the red-hot Packers at the number 1 seeded Cowboys. That's coming up next. Stay tuned. Well, here we go. I mean, this is really a great game, at least going in, and hopefully we'll see some real competition here. Green Bay and Dallas, this is the game everybody wants to see this weekend. It's not to diminish the other games. They could be exciting as well. I think Seattle, Atlanta certainly has got a chance to be exciting. Pittsburgh, Kansas City is a tough game. And the other one, well, but this is the game that's going to get the numbers. It's going to be the most heavily bet game, I think, of the season to date. And I think the books are going to like this because they're probably going to get split action on this game.
Well, they should.
Yeah.
I mean, Dallas is everybody's, I mean, it is America's team. So it's been that way for decades. It still is, but everybody loves Aaron Rodgers.
With good reason.
And the guy's seven games now. I don't know what the number is, but like 21 touchdowns and no interceptions.
Absolutely incredible.
It's. I don't see the Dallas defense slowing him down. Okay, so we're talking about the offensive side of this for Green Bay against Green Bay's offense against the Dallas defense. I think in that matchup, the Green Bay offense wins. Aaron Rodgers wins. He can tear apart any defense, basically. Unless you can sack him a lot, and I don't see Dallas doing that very much. I mean, the Giants didn't do it at all. But I don't see, the interesting, too, the Giants beat Dallas twice, the only 2 losses they had.
Yeah.
And of course,
Dallas could have won those 2 games.
Yeah, they could have. They're close.
They had the mishap at the end with the clock at the end, whatever it was, in the first game where Bailey would have kicked that field goal.
Oh, yeah. The guy went out.
A hell of a team.
Did not go out.
I don't count the last game against Philadelphia because that was a day off.
Dallas is, on paper, the best team in football.
Yeah.
Well, they'll carry it forward. They have an issue. I mean, they have Ezekiel Elliott, who's a candidate for most valuable player. You got Dak, who's another rookie. There's 2 rookies. you're going to ask these two rookies to carry you into the Super Bowl and win these games. That's a lot of pressure for guys that were in college a year ago.
Let's go back to a rookie many, many years ago.
It's happened before.
Tom Brady, who was a rookie. And
It's happened many times.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was reading about it this morning. It's happened many times.
I want to throw one.
But it's not Connor Cook.
No, it sure isn't. How big is the Jordy Nelson injury? Now, I don't know what his status is right now, but this is just my opinion, and I could be dead wrong on it. I think if Jordy Nelson's even on the field, it's mostly as a decoy. He ended up in the hospital. Okay.
Well, he had 2 broken wrists.
Yeah. So I don't, and this is a big part of the Green Bay offense because and by the way, Montgomery got dinged up in the game as well. So now the running back situation is a little bit. Rodgers can do a lot, but he can't do it all. And if he's missing those 2 key elements of the offense, or they're well under 100%, that's going to be a problem for Green Bay on the road.
And you have to look at the fact that Dallas played them already.
Yep.
And when you look at the
killed
stats, they murdered them. There was no stopping Green Bay's running game or Dallas's running game. They could not slow them down.
We got the numbers here. 191 to 78 in rushing, 424 to 372 overall. Prescott 247, three touchdowns. Cowboys forced 4 turnovers. And they did. Prescott also fumbled twice and had a pick of his own. But this game wasn't close.
No, it wasn't. It was not annihilation. Now you're asking.
The argument is that, well, wait a minute. Green Bay was playing its worst football at that time, and now they're not.
Question is, do they have the talent to go to Dallas, a rested team, much healthier?
Yes.
Okay, fresher, healthier, best record in football, but it's a big turnaround. There's a lot of people that odds makers, handicappers that I've talked to that feel this line is short of what it should be. And they're thinking that 6 is more the right number. It opened 4.
That actually, I made my number for what it's worth, because we make our own numbers. I made it right between there. I made Dallas 5. So I think it's a tiny bit short.
It's still short. Well,
But
Dallas,
that 5 was made.
5 is a dead number, though.
But that's just the way it came out for me. And I made that number without factoring in Nelson being hurt. So with Nelson being hurt, I actually have got to add a half a point. I think he's worth a half a point.
Oh, definitely worth half.
Might be a point.
Yeah. Okay, if you had a choice, I'm saying the number should be 6. That doesn't mean, that's enough value to go that way. But if you had your choice between 4 and 6, what would you do? If you're the bookmaker.
Based on how much money is coming in on Green Bay lately, I think I might go the lower number.
4.
Yeah.
And you think the money will go in which direction?
I think the public is going to bet Dallas.
Okay. At this moment, one of the offshore books, the number of bets, not money, just the number of tickets, 79% are on Green Bay. Yet,
But early money is not public money, so that's
true. But this is interesting. The game opened 4. 79% of the tickets are on Green Bay, but the line went up. Okay? This is that reverse line move stuff that we talk about all the time. Basically, you're saying, 79% of the tickets are on Green Bay. That's the side everybody's betting. Not so. The bigger money has come in on Dallas. So that's something to be concerned with not concerned, just monitor it.
It's going to be fun. And, later in the week, we'll both have official plays on it. I'm not locking in to anything just yet. I do want as much of that late injury information as I can get because, these doctors work miracles, these guys.
Yeah.
And if Jordy Nelson's out there and able to go, that changes the whole picture. It really does. This guy's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, he is. The good thing about here there's a difference between September football and January football. There's other guys on the team that have developed over that 16, 17, 18-week season and preseason included, be more. There's other guys that can step up and move up from the 2, 3 position, 4 position up to the 1 position because now they have 16 games and all the practices.
Yep.
So this isn't the same team that came on the field in August for preseason or September when they started. All these teams change due to injuries and practice time. Skill position players get better or worse depending on situations. So I look at that as a problem, but I don't look at that as the end of the game for them. It's going to be interesting. I actually do, Dave, right now, today, have one very large play on this game.
All right. Well, they'll have to find out what that is. I'll find out during the break.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we have free plays available every single day. And you guys can get those right on your cell phone. It's a snap.
That's right. Just text GAME, G-A-M-E, to 25827, and you'll get a free play right now to your cell phone. That's easy. GAME, G-A-M-E, to 25827.
All right, coming up next, we will turn to college basketball. And I've got a rant coming up, so stick around. All right, we are back, and I'm not going to pull any punches on this. Now, earlier, we're going to talk about the Baylor-Kansas State game, and that ties into something that took place on Tuesday night. And it's, would you please stop insulting your audience, SportsCenter, okay? At SportsCenter on Twitter. The first thing they put out after the game is, and I might be phrasing it wrong, but the key word is correct. West Virginia shocks Baylor. Number 1 Baylor. They beat the crap out of them. West Virginia was a 6-point favorite in the game. It's not a shock if a 6-point favorite in the game wins and wins big on their home court. This, to me, is completely disrespecting your audience because you've got to know that a lot of you people understand that there's betting lines in this game. Doesn't mean they all have bets on it, but they know who's favored. And beyond that, it just displays an incredible ignorance on your part. If your headline guy is too goddamn lazy, to check to see what a betting line is on the game and to have the right favorite, if he's got that information, he's never going to write West Virginia shocks Baylor. 6-point favorites don't shock 6-point underdogs. And I personally get insulted by this because it's basically taking an entire segment of your audience and saying, we don't give a damn about you. And we're just going to write this like you don't know any better.
We were just having a side conversation about hacks. Would
That's
you say
hack,
that
yeah,
would be
yeah.
a hack? Hack reporting, hack announcers, whatever it is. I agree with you. They use big words like that, shock and all this, and it's just not,
check a
it's
betting
not
line.
valid.
It takes 2 seconds to check a betting line.
Now,
Find out who the favorite is in the game.
what was the final outcome margin?
Well, they whacked them.
By 20,
yeah,
maybe?
Okay. They crushed them.
So, I mean,
crushed, fine.
crushed.
Blow them out, whatever. But they didn't shock them. Especially in that, if you follow college basketball at all, you know how tough that place is.
One of the shocking numbers in that game was I think Baylor had 29 turnovers.
Oh, man, that West Virginia press. I'm telling you what, Huggins got a dangerous team this year. But now we'll get to find out, and now the rant's over, so let's talk about the game itself. Baylor now has to show what they're made of here because they're coming out of that game, and it was a bad loss. And they're going to play Kansas State, which is a very capable team this year. You know, Bruce Weber's on the hot seat, I think he is, at Kansas State, but he might be getting that seat to cool off because the Wildcats have played pretty good basketball so far.
13-3 straight up,
Yep.
8-3 against the spread. This is going to be okay. I'm going to go back to the word you used, shock. Was Baylor shocked, the players, that they couldn't handle West Virginia's press? Because that was
To the extent that it happened, yeah.
that's the part of the game that was shocking
Yes.
to me. They couldn't get the ball up the floor.
They just got overwhelmed.
Yes. So for teams that have that kind of ability, that kind of talent, a head coach can say, hey, this team has trouble handling the ball. If we can run some traps at them, we can get a couple free buckets. That might bring them down a peg or two. When you're ranked number 1, everybody's after you. So what did we learn off the Baylor loss? Kansas State's playing very well. I mean,
But here's the flip side of it. And this is why I think there's a lot of pressure on Kansas State in this game, or at least on Weber. He just hasn't been able to win big games at Kansas State. And there's even a spread record here. 5-11 against the spread versus winning teams his last 16. I don't know that 5-10 against the spread against a team with a winning percentage above 60%. Baylor won both games last year. One was a double overtime thriller. Remember that game. and the other one was a fairly comfortable win. I'm not a huge Scott Drew guy either. I think the better Drew is at Vanderbilt, to tell you the truth. But that remains to be seen, and that has nothing to do with this. It's a game that I really don't know what to do with right now. I suspect.
What kind of line you're looking at? What do you think?
Geez, I haven't made a number for this yet, but it's got to be. I think maybe right in the pick'em range, doesn't it?
Well, this is going to be. I mean, first of all, it's the second road game for Baylor, back to back. Traveling in the country is very difficult right now because of the weather. So you don't want to be on the road too much, making plane trips. I mean, we got that in the NBA every day with the snow and the ice and the delayed flights. And these guys don't travel that well when situations are like that. So I think this is a very tough spot for Baylor to come back. I think their ego, their pride was hurt. No. Can they bounce back again? Now, Kansas State's sitting there saying, hey, listen, maybe we can beat this team.
They're off a tough loss. They're off 2 tough losses because they had that well, they kind of got robbed at the end of the Kansas game.
Oh,
the guy that took 4 steps.
Yeah.
Four steps, they didn't call it. And then they lose a 1-point game at Texas Tech, but that's not a bad loss. And the Red Raiders are pretty good, and they did cover the spread in that game. But, I think, and this is just, you can't really read this unless you're actually there and get it at practice and seeing what's going on. So this is the guessing part of this. I think Baylor can just look at what happened on Tuesday night at Morgantown and say, one of those games, everything went wrong. For Kansas State, they've lost 2 really difficult games in a short span of time. I think those are tougher to bounce back from because you go to bed that night thinking, geez, if I'd have just done this, we'd have won that game. I think they're tougher to bounce back from. So from an emotional standpoint, I think I'd give the edge to Baylor here.
And I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Okay.
Baylor is ranked number 1 in the country. They go to West Virginia and they lose handily and can't handle the press. Kansas State's a well-coached team. Bruce Weber's a decent coach. 8-3 ATS this year, straight up 13-3. They're sitting waiting. And they are coming off 2 losses, but they don't want to lose 3 conference games in a row. Nobody does, of course. This is a great time for them to say, hey, we've got this team coming in ranked number 1 in the country a week ago, and we can get a win over them. That can wipe out these last 2 losses.
It sure would.
And I really feel that adding in the weather situation, the travel difficulties that all of these people are having now, I'd be on Kansas State, especially if I'm getting a point or 2.
I don't think I will be involved in the game. But it's a good game to talk about, and I think we'll get to learn about these 2 teams in this game, and that can make your money moving forward. Speaking of making money, how about free plays? Well, you can't lose there. There's no charge at all. We have free plays every day and a recorded message from our team of Vegas experts. 888-478-9222 is the number.
And follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jim Feist Sports. And feel free to send me a direct message with any questions you have about Vegas wagering.
Oh, that's it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week with another edition of Proline.